Hello, and welcome to this senior radio frequency lesson on geometry roles. In this video, we will learn how to choose and define the geometry so that it can later be used in the physics setup. As an example, we will use a simple patch antenna. Once you've finished and uploaded your geometry to Xenos, the next step is to choose the type of application you're working with. It can be microstrip, RFID, or other. In our case, we are using a patch antenna, so we select that option. This takes us to the geometry definition window. If you happen to select the wrong antenna type, don't worry, you can always reset it by clicking the Reset Geometry Type option and choosing a different one. Let's begin by selecting the geometry for the substrate. To do this, click the Select button, which opens the geometry selection window. Since the substrate is always a volume, we must choose from the existing volumes. You can select it either from the previous screen or directly from the list. Once selected, click the Assign Substrate button to link this volume to the substrate definition and return to the main screen. Next, we define the patch. Again, click the Select button to open the selection window. This time, we can choose either volumes or faces, something that wasn't available when defining the substrate. That's because the patch can be modeled either as a two-dimensional surface or as a full 3D layer. In our example, we switch the selection to faces and choose the surface that represents the patch. Once you switch to faces, you can notice that you can filter the faces by the solid that you select. In this case, we can select substrate and only the corresponding faces will appear. We select the patch from the preview and we can follow the same step for the ground. The next role is the port. In this case, we can also choose the geometry that we can see. In this case, we select to show only the substrate, so it is easier to select the terminals for the discrete port. Now you can notice that there are geometry solids that have no role assigned, so they are highlighted blue. In this case, we need to assign a role to them. For this specific case, we can add a reflector, select this role, and assign the corresponding solid. Now we add a conductor and add solid 3. At this point, all necessary geometrical objects have been assigned to their respective roles. You may notice that they are labeled with these names, but they can be renamed simply by clicking the Edit button. And that's it. Once all roles have been assigned, you can proceed to the physics setup by clicking Physics, where you will define the physical parameters and run the simulation. This is the end of the lesson on geometry roles. Thanks for watching.